potting plant. So without any further delay, let's begin. Okay, this part involves the plant itself. Especially, we start with the leaf. We're going to dissect the leaf, and we're going to see every aspect that we need to learn about it. So we're going to learn about the transport and the structure of the flowery plant, how it is designed, is suitable for the transport of waters, mineral ions, okay, and the manufactured glucose, organic substances that is manufactured by the plant. Now here we're going to be able to state the functions of xylem, which is a vessels that transport water from the root all the way from the root hair cells to the leaves or to every other part of the plant. And then we're also going to identify the xylems and phloem in the diagram. We're going to look at them from the diagram, their images. We're going to look at the image of the root hair and the stem and the leaf sections and everything. We're going to look at the dicotyledon plant and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to also relate the structure of the xylem vessels to their functions. We look at the structure, we see how it's adapted for the functionality that is made to carry out. We're also going to look at or be able to state that large surface area of the root SS increases the uptake of water, and not just the uptake of water, also increases the uptake of the mineral ion from the soil into the body of the plant. So a surface area is a big factor. Large surface area of the root SS is a big factor that contributes to how much goes into the root. Now let's start with the very first one. What are the functions of xylems and phloem? What are the functions of xylems and phloem? Xylems are characteristically designed by the creator of the plant to conduct or to carry water and mineral ions from the root of the plant. Xylems, what you can see in this picture, depict the xylems. What you're seeing here is the xylem. These are the xylem vessels. These xylem vessels are designed characteristically. You can see them. Even here they are faint. Okay, but these are the xylem vessels. This characteristic one. Okay, these are phloem tube. We're going to describe the phloem tube later in another diagram. Phloem tubes are explicitly shown here, but these are the xylems. This one that looks like a rib cage or something. They're called the xylem or worm. They look like worm, earthworm. They are the xylem vessels. So what is the job of the xylem vessels? The job of the xylem vessels is to carry water. Okay, the water that has been obtaken from the ground by the root hair cells. The root hair cells, they are adapted and suited for being able to absorb water from the ground. The root hair cells of the roots of the plant are adapted to be able to absorb water, and it does that by using the method of osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from the region of high concentration to the region of lower concentration. So the root hair are suited by the creator to be able to absorb the water from the ground, to be able to take the water, okay, by a process known as osmosis. While the mineral ions, they are inorganic substances. The manufactured food is an organic substance, but the mineral ions like magnesium, like nitrate from the ground, they are inorganic substances. These mineral ions can only be adapted or can only be uptaken by a process known as the active transport and diffusion only. The mineral ions, okay, they can only be taken from the ground by the root hair cells through a process known as the active transport. So these are questions that are IGCSE inclined. You should be able to explain and tell which process helps to absorb the mineral ions, the inorganic substance. They may use the term mineral ions or they use inorganic substances. It's the same thing. The inorganic substances such as magnesium, such as nitrate, nitrate is taken so that the plant can get nitrogen to manufacture amino acid, to manufacture protein. So these mineral ions can only be taken from the ground by a process known as active transport, which we've studied, I think, in chapter 3 or chapter 5, somewhere around there, between chapter 3 to chapter 5, we study that. So can only be taken by a process known as the active transport, and maybe variably with diffusion. But the water itself will be taken by osmosis. Is that okay? So that part is clear. Now, when the root SS takes the water, absorbs the water, he puts them into the xylem vessels. Now, this is the xylem vessel. But we're going to show you from the plant itself. It puts them in the xylem vessel. The water starts to travel up through the stem to the leaf of the plant through the xylem vessels. Okay, we're going to talk what enable the xylem vessels to be able to do this with the structure that the Maker, Almighty God, has put in the xylem vessels. Now let's go to the second one, the phloem tube. The phloem tubes, they conduct, manufacture food. They conduct or carry manufactured food. What are the manufactured food by the plant? The glucose. The glucose is a simple example, or sucrose. Okay, but it does not carry the glucose. When glucose is made, glucose is converted to sucrose. Now the phloem tube carries the sucrose. The sucrose is a double sugar. Sugar is divided, or carbohydrates are divided into 3. We have the monosaccharide, which are single sugar. We have the disaccharides, which are double sugar. And we have the polysaccharide, which are called the complex sugar, which are called the glucose and fructose. They are good examples of simple sugar. Glucose and fructose. See, all these things you have to pay attention. Glucose and fructose, they are good examples of simple sugar. Now, two glucose joined together, they will form what we call the maltose. Two glucose joined together, they form a maltose. Maltose is a double sugar. So when I say maltose, when we write maltose, maltose is a double sugar. So this is two glucose joining together, okay? Two glucose molecule joined together to form what we call the maltose. Now, this is glucose plus glucose. So I will just use G for glucose. Glucose plus glucose, we form what we call the maltose. Now, when we have a glucose plus a fructose, we will get sucrose. Plus a fructose, we get sucrose. Now, these sucrose are being transported. They are the organic substances. Sucrose. These sucrose are the organic substances that are manufactured, that needs to be transported from the source. Source is the point of manufacture, to the sink. Sink is the point of usage. So this sucrose will be transported through the phloem tube, to every other part of the plant. Because every part of the plant, whether it's the stem, whether it's the leaf, whether it's the root, every part of the plant needs the manufactured food. It transports this sucrose, not only sucrose, remember this is carbohydrate. It also transports amino acid when proteins are made, plus amino acid. Also transport amino acid when proteins are made. Now, amino acid is when the glucose or sucrose react with nitrogen that is from the nitrate in the inorganic mineral that has been absorbed and transported to the palisade layer of the palisade mesophyll of the leaf. So when this amino acid combine with the sucrose, they form the amino acids combine with the glucose that is manufactured, they form what we call amino acid. When the nitrogen combine with the glucose, they form amino acid. Amino acid is the smallest unit of protein. Amino acid is the smallest unit of protein. Now this amino acid and this sucrose, this is carbohydrate, this is protein. These two basic food, they be transported with the help of a phloem tube. This is a tube. It's just like a highway, a transport highway, where the manufactured food is being transported from the point of manufacture to the point where it is needed. Now we're going to describe them later. You can see a sieve plate, the job a sieve plate does, and the whole thing is the sieve tube. You have inside the sieve tube, you have a sieve plate and companion cell. We're going to describe that later on. Okay, now let's move on quickly to the next way. How is the xylem vessels adapted for its function? How did the maker of the plant, the creator of the plant, how did he adapt the xylem vessel to be able to carry water from all the way from the root, moving against concentration gradient, moving up to the leaf, all the way from the root, the water is being transported to the leaf. Now there's something they make, this is called lumen. The tube, this is something that looks like tube, is called the lumen. This is the lumen, okay? This is the lumen of the xylem vessel. Now, inside the vessel, you see some circular disc like the red blood cells. See some circular disc. These circular discs, we call them the ligni. You must remember this word, ligni. It's called the ligni. It is the ligni that enables this water to be able to move up this place. Okay, it's called the ligni. You can see it's like a red blood cells, the red blood cell. Okay, the vascular red blood cells. So now this ligni will be liglified. Meaning will be stretched in a spiral band stretch in a spiral band to enable water to easily be going up, so it is the ligni that enables the water to flow through the xylem vessel. Now here is the transverse section of a ligni. Okay, now these are called pits. The unliglified part, they are called the pits. So you must remember pits, P-I-T-S, pits. They are the unliglified part. We have the unliglified, these ones, they are the pits, and you have the ligni, which are the liglified one. Okay? So this is the liglified wall, this one. This part is the liglified wall. This is the pit. This is the pit. Okay? So we have the ligni, which enables the movement of water, and you have the pit. Okay? So this is the cross section, and this how. So you have to remember this how the xylem vessel is adapted for its functionality. So you remember the xylem vessels has in it ligni, which enable the water to flow. Is that okay? Now, how is the phloem adapted for its function? How is the phloem tube adapted for its function? The phloem consists mainly of a long tube. You can look at it. It's made up of a very long tube. Look at the tube. And in between, it has something like a knee. You know, our legs, we have the knee cap, right? We have the knee in between. So it's the phloem has something like that. Okay, it has something like that, which we call the sieve tube. It has something like that. Now, the phloem consists mainly of a long tube called the sieve tube. Okay, this is the sieve tube. Okay, this is the sieve tube, and inside the sieve tube, you have what we call the sieve plate. This knee cap in phloem tube is called the sieve plate. It's called the sieve plate. We're going to look at the sieve plate. The phloem is made up of two things. Inside the phloem is made up of two things. We have the sieve plate and the companion cells. The phloem is made up of sieve plate, the phloem tube. Remember the other one is the xylem is made up of ligni and pit. While phloem is made up of sieve plate, the sieve plate, and the companion cells. It's made up of the sieve plate and the companion cells. Okay? Now let's take a look at them. What does each one do? Now, first of all, before we discuss what they do, let's take a look at the transverse section. Okay, this is how the sieve plate looks like. This is how the sieve plate looks like. It's like a cap, a knee cap. Okay, this is how the sieve plate looks like. All this inside this structure, they are called the sieve plate. This dark thing inside this structure, they are called the sieve plate. While the companion cell is always beside the sieve plate. You can find companion cell like this one. These are the companion cells. It's going with the tube. Okay, these are the companion cells. Okay, going with the sieve tube. This whole thing is called a sieve tube, and everything combined, both the sieve tube and the companion cell, they are called the phloem tube. Okay, you have a sieve tube. Inside the sieve tube, you have the sieve plate, and you have a companion cell. Okay, Now, sieve tubes are made up of living cells. The sieve tube are made up of living cells called the sieve plate. Okay. Now, the cross walls separating the cells are called the sieve plate. These are the cross wall. Okay, as the manufactured food is coming, it gets here, it has to cross over to this plate. To cross over to this place that it crosses over, they're called the sieve plate. They are called the sieve plate. The cross wall. They are called the sieve plates have lots of minute pores to allow rapid flow of manufactured food substances to go. Rapid, so it has a lot of pore holes. If you look at the cross section, you see a lot of holes between the black dots. Okay, so that pores enable or allow the manufactured food substance to pass through. Is that okay? So let's move on. We already know what this fluent tube is made up of. Made up of a sieve tube, and in between the in between sections of the sieve tube, you have the sieve plate, and it's made up of sieve plate and companion cells. Companion cells. Okay, we say the sieve tube is made up of living cells. The sieve tube is made up of living cells. Remember, the lignin in a xylem, they are not living. They are not living cells. The lignin in xylem, they are not living cells. But the sieve tube is made up of living cells. Okay, it's made up of living cells. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. How are the vascular tissues organized in a stem? How are the vascular tissues organized in a cell? You know the vascular tissues? The one in the leaf, for example, inside the leaf you have the vascular bundles. Okay, we have the vascular bundle where we have the xylem cells, where we have the phloem, where we have the cambium, where we have the cortex and the epidermis. The whole vascular bundles these vascular bundles can be organized or identified. This is the xylem, this one, this is the xylem, and this is the phloem. These tiny ones are the phloem. Okay, and then this one in between them, you have what we call the cambium. Now let's take a look at the cross section, okay, of the vascular bundle. The vascular bundle primarily consists of the phloem and the xylem. This is the xylem. This orange one is the xylem. This is the phloem. Okay, in between them is the cambium. Now this external, almost to the end, they are called the cortex. It's called the cortex. This almost to the end is called the cortex. This a bit, will I say pinkish or orangish color. Okay, this surface is called the cortex. Okay, then this outer layer is called the epidermis. The outer layer is called the epidermis section. This lightish one is called the pit. It's called the pit. Is that okay? So this is the cross section or the transverse section of the dicotyledon plant. This is the picture. This is the picture from the picture, and this is the biological analogy. Is that okay? Now let's move to the next one. Now let's go to how are vascular tissues organized in root. Now let's take a look at the root. How are vascular? Look at the root. You planted a seed. This is the seed springing out, and this is the root. Okay, it's forming the root. Now you can see tiny substance like the hair. We call the root hair cells. Okay. Now this is what is shown. These tiny substances is what we show here, like this, as the root hair cells. Okay, they are the root hair cells. The root hair cells. Now inside this place, you can see something like a pink, no, not pink, purple color. This purple, first of all, you have a star here. Okay, the star is the xylem. This star is the xylem in the root. This is the xylem. Okay, this xylem is this big one, this big tube. This greenish one, small one, they are called the phloem. Okay, they are called the phloem. This big hollow one, all these hollow ones, all of them, they are called the xylems. All these ones, they are the xylems. All these ones, they are the xylem. The phloems are all these greenish ones. Okay, these are the cross section. Okay, these are the phloem. Now let's take a look at the root one by one. We have the phloem. The phloem is this purple one, this purple surrounding the star. All these purple surrounding the star, they are the phloem. It could be purple, it could be greenish. Okay, they are the phloem. The xylem is this star, it's a big tube, okay, where water flows. Then the cortex is this one. See this yellow surrounding is the cortex. Then this one is the epidermis layer, this line that draw a circumference, the circumference line, the dark pencil line. It's called the epidermis. Okay. Then these are the root hairs. These are called the root hairs. Okay, so that's it for a root. Now let's move to the next one. We go to the second section, the movement of substances in plant. The movement of substances in plant. In this part, we're going to investigate the pathway of water through the parts of plants, and then we're also going to describe the sources as part of the plant that release sucrose or amino acid. We're also going to discuss sink. In transpiration, there are two things we need to know, two words. One is called source, the other one is called sink. You must know the meaning of these two words, source and sink. We're going to describe them, and we should know the meaning of these two words. Is that okay? In the transportation of water or the transportation of manufactured glucose, the organic substance. Manufactured glucose and amino acid, or transportation of sucrose. Actually, sucrose we transport. Transportation of sucrose and amino acid is from source to sink. It's from source to sink. That's called translocation. The process is called translocation. The movement of the transportation of the manufactured food. This manufactured food are the sucrose and the amino acid from the point of manufacture. Point of manufacture is called source, and the point of usage is called sink. The process is called translocation. Is that okay? We're going to learn about that. Describe translocation. See, we're going to describe this section. We should know the meaning of translocation. In this section, we should know the next section. We're going to learn transpiration. Okay, we're going to learn the meaning of translocation as the movement of sucrose and amino acid in the phloem from source to sink. From source to sink. This is the definition of translocation. This is just the definition of translocation. The movement of sucrose and amino acid. Remember, these are the manufactured food, organic substances. The manufactured food, sucrose and amino acid, the transportation of sucrose and amino acid in the phloem tube from the source. The source means what? The point of manufacture in the palisade layer of the leaf. From the source where the food is manufactured to the point of usage, meaning to every other cells of the body of the plant. It's called the sink. So you must remember how to define translocation. Okay? So this is translocation. For example, let's take a look at this one is the xylem, is bringing water from the ground. This one is the xylem, is bringing water from the ground into the leaf. It's bringing water from the ground into the root cell, from root cell to xylem vessel, and this is now the xylem vessel. You can see ligli, small circle, ligli, okay, and this ligli will be liglified to carry the water all the way to the leaf. Okay, the water gets into the leaf, and then the water. We'll talk about transpiration. There are two words you must know in this chapter: translocation and transpiration. The definition, you must know them in the exam. Translocation, transpiration. So the water comes in, and this water, part of it reacts with carbon dioxide to make food in the palisade layer. So the water transport or move to the palisade. This is the palisade. I'm not talking about specific palisade in US, in California, that is burning. Okay, I'm talking about the palisade mesophyll of the leaf. I'm talking about the palisade mesophyll of the leaf. Okay, so this palisade, this is where the chloroplasts are. The chloroplasts trap the sunlight energy, and this sunlight energy cause this water. You know, the water will diffuse here. Cause this water, the water will move here, and then cause this water to react with the carbon dioxide. You know, the carbon dioxide diffuses into the leaf through the stomata. The stomata, the guard will open through the stomata. The carbon dioxide will enter as a gas, and it will react with the water in the palisade layer, and the glucose is manufactured. Now this glucose will react with nitrate that is also brought. You know, the nitrate is also brought through the xylem vessel to the leaf, and this nitrate will react with the glucose to make amino acid. So this food that is manufactured is brought back to this place, to the xylem, to the phloem tube. The food that is manufactured is stored here. The food manufactured here is brought here and stored by the plant. And then later it will transport the sucrose, which is the carbohydrate, which is one of the smaller units of carbohydrate or starch, and amino acid, which is the smallest unit of protein. It will transport them to every other. This is called the phloem tube. It will transport them through this phloem tube to every other part of the body of the plant. To transport them through this phloem tube to every other part of the body of the plant. Is that okay? And this will be delivered to every single cells of the body of the plant. Is that okay? The one that is kept, that is not used, is the one we go and harvest and we use. We are thieves. We steal from plant. Plant did not give us, we just steal from them. So this is stomata, where the gas diffuse in and out, substance diffuse in and out into the leaf. Okay, this is the internal structure of a leaf. If you've not learned the internal structure, please go and learn. This is the waxy cortical. This part, nothing goes in from the plant here. It's like a wax, a candle wax. So it's sealed. The top of a leaf, you know the way it is? Okay, water do not go in from here. That's why if it rains on top of the leaf, you meet the water on top of the leaf. The water cannot go in here. The water going through this place. Okay, below that you have the upper epidermis. This layer is called the upper epidermis of the leaf. Okay, below the upper epidermis you have the palisade mesophyll layer. Then after the palisade mesophyll layer, this whole layer, after the palisade mesophyll, you have the spongy mesophyll layer. The spongy mesophyll has a lot of spaces where water that comes in, air, carbon dioxide that comes in, or any gas that comes in, have a lot of spaces to move around. So we have the spongy mesophyll layer this way. Then this is the vascular bundle. This place is the vascular bundle. The top here is the xylem vessels, and then below here is the phloem tube. Below here is the phloem tube, and you have the cadmium in between them. The cadmium in between them, separating them. So this is the internal structure of a leaf. Okay, now let's move on quickly. I hope you get this message. Now let's take a look at, here is how can we study the path water takes through a plant. Okay, this is like investigation, just an investigation. You can see the root here. Okay, absorb the water, and then the water joins the xylem vessels. The xylem vessel now transport the water and up to this place and deliver the water to the leaf. Deliver the water to the leaf, deliver the water to the leaf, deliver the water to the leaf, and so on and so forth. This is a plant. Okay, so the xylem tissue, either you call it xylem vessel or xylem tissue, okay, has been straight red. Although you may not see the red it's not very conspicuous. Now xylem is the tissue involved in the uptake of water, in the uptake and transport of water. Xylem is the tissue that is used to uptake water and transport water to every part of the body of the plant. You must know this one, okay? You must know. If you understand this chapter, for you to understand this chapter, you must know this basic one. That the xylem is responsible for the uptake of water and transportation of water to every part of the body of the plant. Let's move on to the next one. Now let's take a look. How can we study the path food substances take through a plant? Food substances that is manufactured is called organic. The mineral that you obtain from the ground, they are inorganic. The manufactured food is called organic substance. A good example is sucrose and amino acid. I've showed that earlier on. When it's manufactured, it goes through the phloem, not the xylem now, the phloem. The source, we call it the source, okay? And it joins from the source to the phloem, and is being transported through the phloem to every other part of the body of the plant where it's needed, called the sink. So you must understand source, the source, you must know what is source. So the translocation, this process is called translocation. The process whereby the manufactured sucrose and amino acid is transported from the source to the sink. Please, you have to. From the source to the sink. The process is known as translocation. So in the exam, they may ask you to define translocation. or they will define they will explain some concept. They ask you the process is known as what. Then you should be able to tell, if the process is translocation. Transporting manufactured food from the source of manufacture, okay, from the source of manufacture, from the point of manufacture called the source, to the point of usage called the cells, every other cells of the body called the sink. Okay, that process is called translocation. Okay, so the food that is made is being transported through the phloem tube to every other part of the cells, body of the cells. Is that okay? Now let's move on. This is just an experiment, an investigation. What you should investigate. Now, here is what it is. How can we study the path food substances take through the plant? How can we study the path food substances? This is food that is manufactured now. This one, this food is food that is manufactured, that is saved by the plant. Then the plant tends to use later, but human beings go and steal from the plant. Okay. Now, source and sink in translocation. You must, like I said, please, you have to know how to explain what we call translocation. You have to know how to explain translocation. First, what is source? Source supplies food substances. That's why they call it source. Where you get the food from, okay? It supplies the food substances. What food substance? Sucrose and amino acid. These are the food substances. The source supplies food substances such as sucrose and amino acid to other parts of the plant. Okay? And then a good example of source is the leaf, because that's where the photosynthesis takes place. That's where photosynthesis takes place. A good example of a source is the leaf. A good example of the source is the leaf, where the food is manufactured. Now, what is sink? Sink stores food substances. The sink stores food substances. Sometimes the source can become the sink, because sometimes the food can be stored like vegetables. Vegetables are stored in the leaves, right? The food itself, which we call the vegetables, they are stored in the leaves. So that's what we mean by sometimes the source can become the sink. Okay. Example is the stem. The stem, food can be stored there. The roots, there are root tubers like yam, what do you call carrot, potato, all those ones. They are onions. They are root. So it's stored in the root. This one is stored in the root. At times it's stored in the flower itself. Okay. So this, you should know sink. Sink is where the food is taken to for storage by the plant. Source is where the food is made, usually the leaves. So source, these two words are used for describing what a translocation is. So translocation is the movement of food substances such as sucrose and amino acid from source. See how you say, you have to use this word when you are describing translocation. The transportation of food substances, organic food substances such as sucrose and amino acid from source to the sink for storage through the phloem tube. You must measure phloem tube. So when you describe this, you measure the phloem tube because you must measure where the food is going to pass through the phloem tube to the sink. The transportation of organic substances such as sucrose and amino acid from the source through the phloem tube. You say from the source through the phloem tube to the sink for storage. Is that okay? That's the definition of translocation. Now let's move on. Now we are in 8.3, the movement of water through we are done with translocation. So I hope we need to go back to the chapter and go through it so that we can get a comprehensive understanding or a refreshment of what we described. Now we want to talk about the movement of water. The movement of water leads to what we call transpiration. In this chapter, there are two words I say you must remember: translocation and transpiration. Now we want to talk about transpiration. We've talked about translocation, how the food such as sucrose and amino acid is being transported from the sources through the phloem tube to the sink okay, for storage or for use by every cells of the plant, right? Now the other segment is the movement of water. This water is absorbed from the ground by what? By the root hair cell. This is a question in Igsce. What absorbs the water? The root hair cell. Which process is used in the absorbing the water? Osmosis. The water is taken up by the process known as osmosis. So the water is moved into the xylem vessels. Now the xylem, not only water, xylem do not only carry water, it carry waters and mineral ions. The mineral ions by active transport. The mineral ion will be absorbed by the root hair cells through a process known as active transport. What's the difference between active transport and diffusion? In active transport, or the difference between active transport and osmosis, the difference is that active transport requires energy from respiration. Okay? Yeah, and is against the concentration gradient. Active transport is against the concentration gradient. So we must understand this. Now, this water, now we're focusing on the water because we want to explain transpiration. This water we move up the xylem vessels to the vascular bundle, and then from this vascular bundle is distributed to everywhere. See, it's distributed to everywhere. Now you can see here is arrow. It's not broken arrow. You see here, you start seeing broken arrow. Why are we having like a full arrow here, and here we are having broken arrow? What it means is that the broken arrow represents the part of the water vapor. You know, this water, when it comes here, because the leaf is being heated up by the sun when the temperature increases, here is still water, you know, for photosynthesis. You know, photosynthesis is taking place in the palisade layer. So the water, when it arrives here, when it arrives at the vascular bundle, it moves to the palisade mesophyll layer. It moves to the palisade mesophyll layer. So this water, with the help of the sun, we react with the carbon dioxide that has diffused in through the stomata, and then react together to form glucose. Now glucose and sucrose join together to form, glucose and fructose join together to form sucrose. This sucrose is brought here, is brought to this place, the phloem tube. Okay, and then that one goes to that. But we are not going to, I've already explained the food movement. Now with the water. Now this water, some of them get so heated up that it doesn't remain as water, because not all the water is used for photosynthesis. Some of the water become too hot, it becomes a water vapor or steam, what we call steam. So, but in biology, we stick with the word water vapor. Okay, we stick with the word water vapor. Hot water is called water vapor, gas, meaning it's no longer a liquid. Because the leaf, you know, the sun heats the plants a lot. So the water become water vapor. Become what? Water vapor. Some of the water, not all of them. Okay, some of them has been used for photosynthesis process. Then some of them become what? Water vapor. This water vapor is the one now we show with broken arrows. This water vapor has to leave, has to diffuse out. It's because it's not a gas. It diffuses out from here. Is that okay? Diffuses out from here. Is that okay? So that's what is happening here. That's what is happening in this section. So this section, we need to outline the pathway of the water through the root hair. From the root hair cells, we're going to look at the pathway, how the water comes all the way from the root hair cells, okay, how the root hair absorb the water and put it in the xylem, and then through the cortex of the root hair cells, and then to the xylem, and then to the mesophyll layer of the cell. When we say mesophyll, we are talking about the palisade mesophyll. Okay, the water travel all the way to the palisade mesophyll layer for photosynthesis to take place. So we should also be able to explain or understand which water moves upward in the xylem vessel. Where did the water go to? It goes through the xylem. The water goes through the xylem vessels. It doesn't go through the phloem tube. So you must understand that. So now let's take a look at the composition of this section. The entire composition of this section. Let's take a look at it. Here, we say water vapor diffuses out of the leaf through water vapor diffuses out of the leaf through where? Through the stomata. Because this is exam question. The water vapor will diffuse out of the leaf through where? Through this place. This is called the stomata. These stomata, they are fixed in position by last volatile with what? With guard cells, 2 guard cells. These 2 guard cells, when the water vapor is coming, it will open. It's just like a gate man. These guard cells, they are like gate man. You know, gate man in a compound, a fenced compound. So when you are driving out, the gate man will quickly open the gate for you to go through. So this gate man, in this regard, the Almighty God puts here is the guard cells. So when the water vapor is about to go out, these guard cells will open the stomata. We open the stomata, and this hot water will diffuse from here. This hot water, which we call the water vapor, will diffuse here as gas and leave. Is that okay? Okay. So all this will happen during now, which means technically, let's take a look at something. There's something interesting about here. Technically, water is absorbed through the root hair cells into the xylem, into the cortex or equal to whatever layer, into the root cortex cells to the xylem, and then transported through the xylem all the way to the vascular bundle here, and then to the vascular bundle in the leaf, and then to the palisade mesophyll layer, and then some of it will become heated up and become water vapor and leaves. So it's a continuous process. As long as the sun leaves, the water goes into the leaf, the water goes out. Water go in, water go out. Water go in, water go out. So it's like something that will never be filled, because the sun hits the leaf, the water is evaporate. The sun hits the leaf, the water evaporate. That process whereby the water is absorbed from the ground through the root cells to the xylem vessels, transported through the xylem vessels to the leaf, and this water becomes heated and becomes water vapor and escape, diffuse out through the stomata. Okay, that process is called transpiration. That process is called transpiration. So the water will never be enough for the plant. The plant will continuously look for water. The plant will continuously look for water. Why? Because the water that is being absorbed is heated up in the leaf. It becomes water vapor. Most of the water evaporates, diffuses out of the leaf of the plant. So it diffuses out of the leaf of the plant. So as a result of that, water is lost. Water is taken in, water is lost. Water is taken in through the root cell, water is lost through the stomata. Water is taken in. So it's a continuous cycle. The process is called transpiration. The whole process is called transpiration. So we must be able to define transpiration. Okay, we must be able to define transpiration as a process whereby water absorbed from the root cells, transported through the xylem vessels, get to the leaf, becomes water vapor, and escape through the stomata. So that process is called transpiration. Remember, I said 2 words we must be able to define: translocation and transpiration. Translocation has something to do with phloem tube, source, and sink. Transpiration has something to do with water uptake, xylem, and water vapor, and escape from the leaf. So you must be able to define that. Now let's move on. Okay, when we find it again, we'll talk about it. Now, how does water enter a plant? How does water? We already said that. This is a cross section, a transverse section of the root hair cell. This is a root hair cell. This is the root hair. This is the hair. These ones are soil particles. These ones are soil particles. Okay. These soil particles, within them has water in there. So this water comes. Water is in the ground. This water enters between the soil particle, and by the process known as osmosis, which is the movement of water from region of higher concentration to region of lower concentration. The ground has more concentration than the root of the plant. The ground has more water. Because it has more water, is the region with the higher concentration. So the soil that has more water is the region with higher concentration. So water will diffuse from this region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Okay, it's not moving against concentration gradient. It will diffuse a region of, but in the case of mineral ions, the plant has more concentration. So it's going to move with active transport against concentration gradient. You know why? The plant already has a lot of mineral, glucose, amino acid. So the nitrate that is absorbing from the ground, the concentration is not as high as that of the plant, what the plant already has. So it's going to need an extra energy to be able to go in and move the mineral ions through the body of the plant. So but for this one, the water can easily flow because there's more water inside the soil than the water in the root hair. There's more water inside the soil than the water in the root hair. So this water diffuses here, or they are moved by a process of osmosis and join the xylem. Join the xylem and begin to transport the water to the top of the plant. So this is a process. Look at it from the beginning. This is a root hair. Okay, the water is through a process of osmosis. Water enters the root hair. Okay, this is the root hair. Water enters the root hair, and from here is being deposited in the xylem. This is xylem. Okay, these are the liguli of the xylem. So the water will begin. This liguli will be liglified. Once water enters the liguli, the way Allah has designed it, the liguli will be liglified, meaning it will begin to spread out like a spiral, and the water will start to travel in that manner until it gets to the vascular bundle. Okay, so these are the reddish one are the vascular bundle, and then when the water gets there, some is used for photosynthesis and some become heated up and then it escapes. And that process of escaping of water vapor is known as transpiration. Water go in, water go out. That process is called transpiration. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Now this is a picture of the root hair. This is a root you can see the hair on the body of the root. This is a root inside the ground. Okay, with just a picture extracted with the electron microscope. So you can see the hair on the body of the root. This hair, okay, they are so structured by the maker to enable it to be able to absorb water. Okay, it's a tiny process. It absorbs the water, put the water in the xylems, and begin to carry the water to the rest of the body of the plant. Now, but before then, let's take a look at how does the water enter the plant. Okay, so this is how water enters into the plant in the soil. Okay, how do root hairs absorb mineral ions? Not only water. How do they absorb mineral ions? The root hair cells absorb mineral ions from the soil solution by active transport. Because the mineral ions, the concentration in the soil is not as high as the concentration already on the plant. So it's going to move against concentration gradient. So it's moving against the concentration gradient. So it needs an extra energy. And that process where you require external energy or extra energy from respiration is called active transport. So the mineral ion will be transported by what is known as active transport. But the water is by osmosis. Now, how is the root hair cells adapted for its function of absorption? How? I've already explained that. Okay. Now, the root hair cells is long and narrow, partially permeable. It's very long. You can see how long it is, and it's very narrow, and it's partially permeable. Has a partially permeable membrane and has many mitochondria. Mitochondria is the one that provides the energy for active transport to take place. Remember, mitochondria is the store of energy, where energy is being stored, right? So the root hair has is partially permeable membrane, meaning water can go through, penetrate it, semi-permeable or partially permeable, and has mitochondria for the release of energy that is needed for active transport. Okay, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designated it and make it a functionality for using. Now the transpiration proper, the definition. Transpiration is the loss of water vapor by the plant. Okay, the loss of water vapor by the plant from the aerial part of the plant, mainly through the stomata of the leaf. The loss of water vapor. The water that has been absorbed being lost, that process is called transpiration. Please, you must know this definition. Transpiration is the loss of water vapor by the plant, water vapor by the plant. Okay, so these are some investigative to just show. Now let's show, this one is important for you. This is the whole process. How is transpiration involved? How is transpiration involved in moving water against gravity? How is it involved in moving water against gravity? If water was not being lost, water cannot move up. Because the water here in the leaves, they are all lost. The sun hits the leaves becomes hot, the water in the leaf becomes water vapor, becomes steam, as if you boiled it, becomes gas. So that water has to be lost. The leaf cannot live without water. As the water is being lost, this one, it gets enough energy to drag water up to replace this one. So water is being absorbed by you can see the root hair, absorbed by the root hair, put in the xylem vessels. Okay, the root hair is long, put in the xylem takes the water through the stem. The xylems are structured through the stem to deliver the water to the leaf. Now when it gets to the leaf, like we already explained, the leaf is already hot because of the sun. Or like you now, you're inside the shade, you're inside the house. The plants don't have a shade, they are the shade, they are the one. So every leaf is heated by the sun. As long as the sun is out, the plants are being heated by the sun. They are the shade, they don't have shade, they don't have house to enter. So the sun hits the leaves, the water in the leaf becomes hot, becomes water vapor, and then it leaves the plant, it diffuses out. Because once you become a gas, you can no longer stay in the leaf. You have to diffuse out. Okay? Gas diffuse, they can't stay in one place. They diffuse out through the stomata. So that's how water is lost. So when they ask you to define transpiration, you say it's the loss of water vapor. Don't say it's the loss of water. Okay? Water itself is not lost by itself. It has to be a vapor. So it's the loss of water vapor in the leaf. Okay? Now here is the story. Here is the story we've just analyzed. Movement of water inside the leaf. How do water move in the leaf? Okay, when the water is brought by this yungo, this reddish one, right? This yungo shoko. Okay, these are called the xylem veins. Okay, these are the phloem. So when it brings the water is everywhere here. So the water begins to move everywhere. The water, some of them are used for photosynthesis, especially during some times of the day, and then the rest of the water be heated up. We'll be looking for an escape route because they become water vapor, they become gas. We'll be looking for escape route, and definitely they will find the escape route. The escape route is a stomata of the leaf. Where the water will pass through. The gas cells will open for the water vapor to diffuse out, and that process whereby you lost water is called transpiration, and you lost hot water. Okay, this is a picture of a plant, the importance of transpiration. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the maker and the creator of the universe, why did he create transpiration? Why did he let plant to undergo transpiration? Because transpiration kind of looks like something bad, but it's not entirely bad. Okay, it's not entirely bad. Why did he could have as well made shade for the plants if he wanted to. Okay, but he let suns to heat them every time the sun is out, and then they lose water. They keep losing water. So you see, every tree you see like this is undergoing through a process known as transpiration. Why did Almighty God let the transpiration to be happening to plant? Because transpiration has benefit. Now let's take a look at their benefit, their advantage. What's the goodness of transpiration? Why did we let sun to heat them so much so that the water in them becomes water vapor, and that water vapor has to diffuse out of the leaves? Okay. Now, one benefit or one importance of transpiration is that transpiration draws water and mineral ions from the root of the plant to the stem and the leaves of the plant. Without transpiration, the plant will have enough water. The plant will be so comfortable, the plant will never draw water from the ground. If it doesn't lose water, it will not drag water from the ground. So that's one advantage, one importance of it. It helps the plant to be able to take water from the ground. That's number one. Number two, is that evaporation of water. You know, transpiration has something to do with evaporation. The water vapor will evaporate, right? We diffuse out of the leaf. Now, the evaporation of water from the cells in the leaves removes latent heat of vaporization. If you're a physics student, you know what is latent heat of vaporization. Okay, latent heat is a hidden heat of hotness of vapor of hot water. So that heat of hotness, we continue to punish the leaf. Continue to you put your face in hot water, or you put your hand in a very hot water. As long as that hot water is there and your hand is inside the hot water, the pain will be with you. You continue to cry, okay, as long as you don't remove your hand from the hot water. So the same with the leaf. Inside the leaf, if the hot water do not diffuse out quickly, inside the internal structure of the leaf, we die. We weaken and die. So if there is no transpiration, if the water is not being lost, the hot water will be inside the leaf and kill all the cells of the leaf. And photosynthesis can no longer take place. The palisade mesophyll layer will die. The chloroplast found in the palisade mesophyll layer will die. They will not be able to even trap the sunlight energy. And the chlorophyll will die, will not be able to give the green pigment to the leaves, and you see the plant will be useless to itself and useless to all of us. So you see the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He allows transpiration to happen so that the hidden latent heat of vaporization, the hidden means latent. The word latent means hidden. That hidden hotness of the water vapor will escape, will evaporate out of the plant and give the plant freedom. Okay, let the plant to breathe. Okay, so that the plant will not suffocate in hotness and die in sorrows. Okay, yeah, it's just on the lighter side. Okay, the third very big advantage or benefit of transpiration, we measure first one, we say it enables the plants to draw water and mineral ions from the ground. The second one, it enables the plants to get rid of latent heat of vaporization. The third one is the water transported to the leaves can be used in photosynthesis. This is very important. Okay, it enables the water transported to the leaf can be used for photosynthesis. And photosynthesis is very important. Not only for photosynthesis, you can even make a fourth point. You also say it helps to keep the cells of the plant turgid. Helps to keep the cells turgid. Turgidity is very important. We studied that in chapter 3 or chapter 4. And then also it helps to replace the water loss by the cells. Okay, transpiration helps to replace water loss. Okay, so here are some basic things to investigate about transpiration. You use a spring balance to measure the mass of the plant and so on and so forth. And you carry out some experimental thingy. Now let's move on to what factors affect the rate of transpiration. This one is always in the exam. Factors that affect the rate of transpiration. What makes transpiration to happen quicker or slower? What are the factors that should be considered that you think make transpiration to happen quicker? Like the problem in the United States, in California, is caused mainly by the strong wind, by the air movement, strong air movement, and that air movement can cause a lot of damage, right? So one of the factors that cause transpiration or speed up the rate at which transpiration occur is the air movement. It's called air movement. So we can call this number one. Number one factor, wind. We can call it wind, or wind is called air movement. Wind. You can see how the plant is windy, right? When it's very windy, a lot of water will be lost by the plant. So what is happening in the Pacific Palisade and Malibu in California and many other places where the fires are engulfing the place is that there is very rapid rate of transpiration by the plant. So the plants are losing water. That's why they can burn. That's why you see the plants, fresh plant that is not dead or dried, is burning. That's why they are burning, is burning. Because there's faster rate of transpiration. What do I mean? There's quickly more water lost by the plant because of the wind. So when there's strong wind or a strong air movement, the plant loses water very fast because there is higher rate of transpiration, meaning more water is lost quickly. Even more water is lost than water is being obtaken from the ground. So as a result of that, if you bring fire near it, it will burn. If you bring fire near it, it will burn. Regardless whether it has some fresh leaf, it's going to burn very badly. That's number one factor that influences the rate of transpiration. Please take note, this is always in the exam in Cambridge Igsce. Number two factor is light. Light intensity. Okay, when there is light, you can see this photo, you can see light, right? Could be sunlight. Once there is light, more water will be lost in the plant, in the leaf of the plant. Okay, more photosynthesis will take place, more water will be lost, and so on and so forth. That's the number two factor. Number three factor is called temperature. Of course, when temperature increases, the rate of transpiration will increase. Because temperature increase, then the plant will be hotter, right? The plant will be hotter. There is more heat energy when temperature increases, and then more water will be lost. More water will be converted to water vapor and will be lost from the leaf of the plant. This is number three. Number four is humidity. Okay? Humidity is like dry air, right? Humidity, when a place is very humid, some place may be hot, but not very humid. Some place may be hot, but not very humid. Okay, some place, if it's humid, it's very unbearable. Dry air, you'll be having dry air. Okay, it will be very unbearable. Okay, it's worse than when a place is hot only. Okay, for example, if you look at Houston is very humid compared to Dallas. Both of them are hot because they're in the same place, same state. Okay, but Houston is more humid. Malaysia is humid. Kuala Lumpur is humid. Singapore is also very humid. So all these places that are humid, sometimes very difficult to live. You need air conditioning. Yeah, rainforest area are humid, right? And super humid. Okay. So when you have forest area, super humid. Okay. Now that's number four. When a place is humid, there's quickly more water lost as water vapor in the plant. The fifth one is wheaty. What do you mean by wheaty? The leaf becomes, you see the original shape, normal wheat, and normal. Early morning, the plant looks very bright. The leaves of the plant, they're standing, they're normal. But somewhere around in the afternoon, when the sun hit them, there's humidity, there's everything. The plant will be reduced leaf surface area, decrease the rate of transpiration. So this one, the surface area will drop because of heat. So this one will reduce the rate of transpiration happening in plants. But if it's fresh, transpiration is higher here when it's normal. But when it's wilted, then rate of transpiration is lowered. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So I think we are in the end now. Probably we want to look at the summary. These ones are just questions. State the names of tissue A and tissue B. Okay, state the name of tissue A and tissue B. Okay, tissue B, this is xylem. Tissue B is xylem. Tissue A is phloem. Okay, state the function of A and B. You already know the function of xylem: transport water from the root cells to the leaves of the plant, while phloem transport sucrose and amino acids from the source to the point of storage or to every other cells of the plant through the phloem tube. Okay, so you should be able to do that. Okay, so that's that for that. Now let's move on quickly. Here is the summary of the ending. Okay, this one is for xylem. You can see aero, xylem conduct and uptake of water from the root hair cells to the leaf of the plant. Okay, illegally helps to prevent collapse of the structure of the xylem. Okay, the manufactured food is brought through the phloem tube to other parts of the body of the plant. So here are questions like summary of the things we've done. So with this, we've come to the end of our today's class, and thank you for joining us.